Hey, Shalom Markins, Rakam Kapashan, James London, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rachak. When I give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing his truth and all sincerity. Back again with another video, got another article here. This one's on the site International Man. Alright, I've seen this article on a couple other sites as well, man. But basically here the title of it is here's how the energy crisis turns into hunger and then war. Alright, written by Chris McIntosh. Right, we keep saying, everything that's happening right now is all according to prophecy. Okay, it's so that prophecy can be fulfilled, right? There's multiple layers to the coming crisis that, well, I say coming, we're in the midst of it, really. But there's layers to the crisis, man. There's levels, right? And things are going to get more intense, more hard. Okay, as the prophecy, as the scriptures describe. All right, and I just want to get here from Daniel 12 verse 1. It says, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that should be found written in the book." Right, so we're heading into this time of trouble that there's never been the like of. Okay, and everything, things about to read out here are going to take, when I play their part in that, okay, into this, this crazy situation, the world is going to find itself in. All right, and like I said, it's all to fulfill the word of the Heavenly Father, okay, for the downfall of this kingdom. Okay, these plagues, these pestilences, everything the Lord's doing to this place, man, is for its destruction. Okay, we're in the last days, man. The Lord is setting this place up to be destroyed. All right, so I'm just going to read through this article and grab some precepts. All right, so let's just get on with it, right? It says, we have previously warned about whopping food crisis and supply problems in the fertilizer market. Well, now is worse because that was before. We had the natural gas crisis. Why is that important? It says natural gas is the critical input into making fertilizer. Urea is essentially ammonia in solid state, the process of which entails reacting ammonia with CO2. And we all now know, thanks to climate nut jobs, that CO2 is currently the devil, right? The problem, of course, is that with no natural gas, there is no urea, and with no urea, there is no fertilizer, and with no fertilizer, well, we all eat each other. Okay, meaning, there's no food being produced because they need that urea. All right, everything has a knock-on effect, man. If there's shortages or if there is complications with the supply, the logistics of moving, these these things around, then it's gonna have a larger knock-on effect on everything else, because these are like some of the base products that are used to create or do things with. So if they can't get their hands on this stuff, then it can't get produced. Like simple thing like oil, diesel and petrol. If you can't, power your trucks, your tractors, and all this kind of stuff, man. But guess what? You ain't producing, man. Or you're producing very little. But then it doesn't even matter because you can't even move it. You can't even move it off the site. All right. If you're having problems with supply, problems obtaining, vital products, man. Right. It's all going to have its knock-on effect, and this is what's been happening over this whole, pandemic thing, man. That's been going on. Right. It's having larger knock-on effects. Okay, it's a global issue. All right, this is why the world is gonna come into what is known as a time like no other, a time of trouble. All right. This is something else that we had noted sometime back in Korea, but which now seems like a larger problem. Okay, and they're showing you the prices. Obviously, if you're getting priced out as well, you can't afford, to pay the price or produce as much because of the price. Then there's going to be shortages. Okay, shortages of food, shortages of a bunch of other things, right? The price keeps going up. You can't afford to, purchase as much of it, right? So here's an article about an Australian farmer who warns the urea supply crisis could halt normal life within weeks. Here's what he says. So not only will we not be able to grow cattle, we will not be able to grow food, and we will not be able to grow grain or anything like that. But even if we could, we can't move it. Okay, so like I was saying, it's having a knock-on effect, right? So it's because we can't turn a wheel in a truck because we have no AdBlue. AdBlue is needed for diesel vehicles. So half of all trucks on Australian roads run on diesel. As of February, we might not have a truck on the road in Australia. We might not have a train on the tracks. So quite literally, the whole country comes to a standstill as of February. All right. So, this is why we all keep an eye on, developments in, all these different countries, man, because it will have a global knock-on effect. It will affect other countries. These nations, or, especially here in the West, they act like what's going on somewhere else doesn't affect them. Or at least that's the mind of these peons that walk around the streets. Right? They don't understand what goes on in another part of the world will affect here, wherever you live, UK, America, wherever. Right? They don't put all that together. But you're gonna find out the hard way, man. And like I said, you already started noticing things. Okay, but a lot of people don't really put two and two together. So they don't think they gotta pay attention to anything like this. All right, so the farmer then goes on to say, go and have a look in your cupboard, and go and have a look in your cupboard, and go and have a look in your fridge, and I guarantee just about every single item there, at some point, urea has been used to produce that item, whether it's a steak or a salad or a can of baked beans. All right, moving to Europe, we have a full-blown energy crisis unfolding there, made worse by increasingly more destructive policies by the point issues, right? People in power, right? It says let's produce more solar, wind, and wind when it's proven to be both inadequate and massively costly, and a supply chain crisis. All right, so it says take a look at energy prices, right? And obviously they've been rocketing. Okay, and then it's not just in Europe. All right, but you can see the prices that they've sharply gone up, man. All right, people are going to be paying a lot more for their energy this year. Well, already started happening in the last quarter of last year. And brothers, we go through these articles, man. There was another one where I think it was from here in the UK. Basically it was an article on people basically having to decide whether or not they're gonna heat or eat, right? Because they can't afford both, right? They're gonna have to make difficult decisions, man, because their income is gonna not be able to stretch this far, man, because the energy prices are going up, the food prices are going up, the benefits are dropping. They're getting hit with inflation. Okay, the income, their wages are not going up. So they're losing money, man, and £1,200, £2,000. That's a lot of money for a lot of people, man. All right, so they're gonna have to make a decision whether they heat the house or not. And we all know what it comes down to. They don't heat the house because they got to eat. But some of these people can't even eat, and these people are going down to food banks, right? Because they can't afford to, do the shop no more. So the crisis is only going to get worse. Okay, it's getting worse for a lot of people right now. All right. So here we're now witnessing the beginnings of what promises to be a storm. Think cold and hungry, and you've got the right picture. That electricity comes largely from natural gas, and that natural gas comes from those peaky Ruskies. I don't know if I say pesky Ruskies. I don't know. All right, it says Europe's benchmark natural gas price rose above €100 or $190 per barrel of oil equivalent, ahead of a series of auctions for pipeline capacity that are seen as a test of Russia's willingness to ease a supply crunch. So right now we have this situation which is going to make your head spin. Europe is out of gas. They spent the better part of the last decade getting rid of their own domestic energy, replacing it with baubles and toys, which, while scoring big on the woke scorecard, have been proven abysmal at producing electricity. So we Europeans now cold and very shortly hungry, we are due for a war. Right, so basically they're saying all this is the outcome of this is civil unrest, right, or even war between nations, which eventually it'll get to that stage, man. But it'll be the civil stuff that comes on, right? But let me just want to get a couple scriptures, right? This is Revelation chapter 6 verse 5. It said, when he had opened the first seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hands. Okay, and this is addressing the rise in prices, the cost of things, right? That people are not going to be able to afford. They're going to get priced out. Okay, and that's going to, add to their own famine, so to speak, their own plight, because they can't afford stuff, right? And what people tend to do when they can't afford, okay, they go, the criminal route, right? They end up stealing, killing, and you're gonna have a whole country of people like that are gonna take matters in their own hands to feed their families, man. They're gonna, rob houses, loot stores and all that kind of stuff, right? To get food, right? And whoever's in the way, well, they're in the way, innit? Depending on how much of a fight they put up. Okay, people are gonna end up getting killed, and if there's and it will get to this point, but when it becomes even such a severe lack of food that you can't even go loot anybody because everything's gone, no one's got no food, right? And these preppers are deep underground, you can't get to them, right? Not yet anyway. But yeah, when there's severe lack of food, like there's not even a scrap, right? People are gonna start eating each other, man. Okay, cannibalism is said, is mentioned in the scriptures, right? And people are going to be doing that in this time. That's why it's a time of trouble like no other, right? It's gonna go beyond anything that's happened prior. Okay, and these things have obviously happened throughout history, right? So it's gonna get so bad that people are going to be eating each other. All right, but carrying on with this, it says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts saying, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. All right, so these measures of wheat for a penny, a measure is like a liter in volume, right? The penny represents, you go into the word, the denarius, right? Which is equivalent to, 10 silver, okay, which could buy like 10 asses, 8 donkeys or something like that, right? Or 10 donkeys or whatever it was, right? So that was a lot of money. That's a day's wage, right? And so, liken unto, use the example of bread, that's going to cost you like a whole day's wage. A loaf of bread is going to cost you a whole day's wage if you're working, That's unthinkable. Okay, we're used to having things cheap. Okay, and even at this moment in time, things are considered to be cheap compared to what they're going to be, because this inflation is going to kick like a mother, man. Okay, these prices are going to skyrocket, man. Right, the availability is going to decrease. Okay, we're going to push up the prices. Everything is adding to its price. Everything that's happening is adding to the price of food, the scarcity. The inflation, everything is adding to it. All right, so soon it's going to become pretty, unaffordable, really. I always say, imagine a whole day's wage that you earn that you could only afford a loaf of bread. And that's probably like 2 liters in volume. All right. It's gonna get peaked, right? Okay. 2nd Ezra chapter 16 verse 21 says, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. So people are complaining that that prices are rising and that, but the price rises are not extreme as of this moment in time, right? So things are still relatively cheap, right? You might not be able to get everything that you need necessarily. I mean, you definitely know it's costing you more, but Like I said, it ain't costing you a whole day's wages just for one item. Right? It ain't that level yet. Right? So things are still cheap relatively. All right, so people, they feel okay still. They think this is temporary, because the countries, the government, the powers that be are basically lulling them to sleep, telling them everything's gonna be okay. We're handling it. You ain't handling nothing, man. The Most High has got a judgment against this place, man. It's gonna play out like he spoke, like he said it would, right? It says, "Behold, victual shall be so good cheap upon the earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth." Okay, they're gonna increase. Okay, things are only gonna get worse, and they're looking worse, right? It says sword, famine, so death, the sword, right? Famine, right? Lack of food, right? And great confusion. Okay, not knowing, like being in a confused state, right? You don't know what the hell's going on. Okay, you don't know when it's gonna end. You don't know if it's gonna end. You don't know anything that's going on. Okay, you're in limbo, right? But Esau, the whole way through, Esau's gonna tell you to trust him. Okay, and eventually he's gonna convince the majority of people to take his mark. Okay, the MOTB. Because you're going to want to end that confusion, man. You want some clarity. So he's still going to come through with what he calls clarity, which is the MOTB. Like, he going to save the people with this MOTB, these RFID chips and that. All right? Which that's not going to be the case. All right, it says, "For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine." So people are going to die of hunger. Okay, there will be people, and plenty of people, that will die of hunger. It will become a real issue. All right? "And the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy." Right? Because, like I said, you're going to have people raiding each other, man, to try and eat. Okay, and people are going to get killed in the process, man. People are going to get angry. People are going to become very cold, very, what's that word I'm looking for? Yeah, just cold, man, unempathetic or something like that. Okay, they're not going to care about your life. Okay, they're only going to care about theirs and their families, and even then, that's going to be strained. Like I said, women are going to be looking at men, and men are going to be looking at women to eat one another, man. Their babies, their children, their dogs, all of that. The dogs are going to be looking to eat them because they ain't getting no pedigree chum, It's always, the relationships are going to get strained. All right, people are going to become evil to one another, even more so than they are already, But violence is going to increase in the earth for that desperation, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 22, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown." Okay, that's your farmlands, your fields. Okay, and like I said, they can't get no urea, and so that affects the whole production, man. They can't sow, can't plant, they can't reap, they can't do shit. They can't export it. They can't even eat nothing because they can't produce nothing. And what does that mean? Empty storehouses. Okay, which it says the full storehouses because you're used to them being full. But guess what? Of late, these stores are not as full as they used to be. Okay, there's things missing. Often, there's things missing. And it might not seem like much at the time, but you're going to notice that even more. Things are going to go missing and they're not going to come back. Right? They're not going to come back. And you're going to be like, oh, rah, okay. And then, you're fighting for the last, steak or something. You're fighting for the last piece of meat in the store because there's not that much meat in the store anymore. Right? You got some supermarkets or, local stores and that are locking up their meat aisles, man. Like the Co-op. And they got their meat. Right? It's got the normal packaging in it, but it's inside a plastic sealed box. With a tag on it. And you got to get the tag off when you go to pay for it. Because people are trying to steal food, man. It's already started happening. So expect it to get even worse. But soon there's not gonna be nothing to steal. That's how it's gonna end up. you know. But they're doing their best right now to stop them coming in and stealing the food, you know. It says, yes, so suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall be suddenly found empty. All right. So like I said, you're gonna find these stores getting more and more empty. Okay, it's already started, so you're already seeing it happening. All right. Let's see what else is in this article. So yeah, we've gone into the energy. This is so with Europeans now cold and very shortly hungry, we are due for war. All right, because like I said, there's gonna be a lot of unrest, as is already happening in the world. You know, there's already unrest over this whole pandemic, and you know, a bunch of other things with the governments and stuff like that, how they're treating them and that kind of stuff, right? A whole bunch of protesting going on around the world, right? But it's gonna become an issue of food, you know, and you know, being to survive, right? And the government going to come more and more draconian, more and more stricter, okay, more rough-handed tactics, right? And this is going to upset the people, man. All right. So remember that historically, the spiraling food prices have caused civil unrest, revolutions, and wars. On the plus side, it's also been known to cure obesity, right? Yeah, because a bunch of fat ass people out there, man. You know. It's like here. Right, it says back to urea and food. It says you can't make fertilizer without urea and natural gas. As the price of either or of these go higher, both are, it significantly impacts the price of fertilizer. The price of fertilizer impacts in turn the price of food. This is because fert is the second largest cost component of most agricultural production, the first being diesel. All right. So everything is just adding to the price, man. Okay, everything. All right, but I just want to grab this, right? 2 Ezra 15 verse 11 says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues, right? And who's the them? Who's he bringing out with a mighty hand and stretched out arm? Okay, his elect, the elect of Israel. Okay, we've been delivered from, you know, this destruction that Lord is bringing upon, you know, this world, Esau's kingdom, right? Beginning with America, okay? So that and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and this is why everything is starting to break down. Everything's starting to fail because the Most High is judging this place, bringing plagues, bringing all kinds of catastrophes upon this kingdom, man. Basically, you know, ending this place, right? It says and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Okay, America, its destiny is to be wholly and utterly destroyed, okay, by thermonuclear fire. Okay, in the war, in the World War III. Okay, the missiles, you know, that everybody's holding. Okay, they're finally going to get used. The Mossad is going to have these countries use them. Okay, and blow America up to smithereens, man. All right. Verse 12 says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. All right. So this world is going to go into mourning. So they that till the ground shall mourn, and this is you're hearing. Because from the article, the quotations from a farmer, right? So he's a guy that tills the ground, right? And they're mourning, he's complaining, okay? And that's going to get a lot worse. You're going to be distraught soon, right? So they that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hell with a fearful constellation. Okay, so not only is, you know, the Most High got all this, you know, all these scenarios going on, Most High is jacking up these places with the weather. You know, bringing all kind of extreme weathers against them, destroying their crops, right? So even if they manage to produce anything, guess what? It might not make it, man. It might not even make it. You know, the Lord might flood it. The Lord might dry it out. You know, the Lord might freeze it out. The snow, you know, all these adverse weather effects, man. The Lord can send to destroy it and you know, reduce the availability. Okay, which He has been doing. Okay, crop yields have not been all that great for a long time. You know? Verse 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Okay, that's that civil unrest right now. Okay, things are getting so bad. Okay, and this is where we're going as 2022 goes on. It's gonna, get to to these points. Okay, Lord willing, this all happens soon, man. All early 2022, because we want to see the Lord turn up, man, and all this has to come to pass before the Lord can turn up. So we just have to wait. We just have to see how this all plays out. But this is what we do expect to see, and this is what's on the cards right now. Okay, if you understand the scripture and you understand the things that are happening in the world right now, you can see this is where it's going. This is for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. Like I said, they're gonna be raiding each other, right? Killing one another in order to survive and feed their families, man. All right. So they shall not regard their kings nor princes, okay, their powers, the authorities, right? And the course of their actions shall stand in their power, right? They're gonna take things into their own hands, right? They ain't gonna wait. They ain't gonna wait for the government to tell them, wait for the government to come help them, man. They're gonna go and take matters into their own hands, man. And obviously the government are gonna come through and try and stop the craziness or the anarchy or the chaos, right? And that's where Esau will step in and say, look, this chip, if we use this, we can fairly ration out food and all that kind of stuff, and we could do this and that, and you can all be fed and sustained, during this difficult time that we're in, because there's a whole bunch of shit that's gonna be going on, man. The whole economy is gonna be going to shit. Everything's gonna be falling apart. Everything, the world economy, everything's gonna be falling apart. Okay, there's gonna be war. It's all gonna be going to hell, man. Okay, and this is why I opened up with Daniel chapter 12 verse 1, because it's gonna be hell. It's gonna be hell, man. Okay, but obviously he's gonna be there trying to allay your fears and try and restore control, and he's gonna do that in the form of that RFID chip, man. Okay, his mark. Okay, this is verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, right? And spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Great tribulation is coming, man. Okay, and you're seeing it unravel. All right. So what this is: fertilizer and prices and food prices up. All right, that's where it's going. That's where it's going to continue to go. It says we now have a bull market, not just in urea, but in natural gas, and to top it off in diesel too. So everything's just making it go higher. So expect food prices to remain stable when the ingredients to produce it are all rocketing higher. Impresses us as comically stupid. So the editors know disturbing economical, political, and social trends are already in motion and now accelerating at breathtaking speed. Most troubling of all, they cannot be stopped. The risks that lie ahead are too big and dangerous to ignore. All right, so yeah, that's basically the point, man. That's the end of the article, pretty much. So, this is gonna develop as the Lord said it would, man. Okay, it's gonna turn into that nightmare situation, which is not a nightmare to us, because this is what we've been hoping for, man. We're dreaming of this day, but this is gonna be a nightmare situation for the world to be in. Okay, a time or a place that you never thought it would ever happen in your lifetime or in this country or wherever you at. You thought you were safe from this type of stuff. You're gonna find out what it's like to be in them super poor countries, man. You're gonna know what it's like to be in Venezuela and parts of Africa and that, where they're just struggling, proper struggling with what's going on, man. You're gonna find the whole developed world, so-called developed world, is gonna be in that situation, man. All right, and like I said, it's all part of the prophecies that are written here in the scriptures. All right, so I'm gonna end it with this. In 2 Ezra chapter 9, verse 1 said, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest parts of the science past, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it's the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Okay, so these signs, okay, these prophecies that are being fulfilled, man. Okay, this is what you're meant to be paying attention to, man, and connecting the dots. Okay, with things that are going on in the world, right? It says, therefore, when they shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, all right, which is all going on right now, all right. So then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Right? This, like I said, this was all written out, prior to the time we're living in, man. From the beginning, this was going to be this way. Right? So then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Okay, these words that the Most High has spoken, okay, is manifesting. These end time prophecies are manifesting. All right, and it's just a matter of time until all of it's played out, man. Until this place is destroyed, Esau's out of power, our Lord returns and delivers the elect and establishes the kingdom. Okay, it's all just a matter of time, man. All right. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom. I hope this is edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video, man. So till then, I say shalom.